This narrative is a character string generated by an AI, a large language model, statistically arranging words, and its truthfulness has not been verified.
Such outputs without basis are called hallucinations. While confabulation more accurately reflects reality than hallucination, we follow convention.
Therefore, the content described has no relation whatsoever to any real persons, organizations, nations, or events.
Proposal number 472, February 28, 2026, 4:17 a.m. The dark, cold operations room of Central Command. Only the low hum of the air conditioning echoes. Displayed on the screen is the dashboard of the Maven smart system. Under the Palantir logo, pale blue text reads Claude v3.7, Target Prioritization Module. Operator, Lieutenant Eric Hunt, 32 years old. 3 empty coffee cups are lined up. He moved his mouse and clicked on number 472 on the list. Claude's output, synthesized voice, calm female voice. Proposal number 472, coordinates 27.1452 N, 57.0821 E. Classification, IRGC Naval Affiliated Facility, warehouse-type structure. Threat level, high. Over 80% probability of ammunition storage based on past intelligence. Recommended weapon, Tomahawk, Block 5, single shot. Collision risk, 0 civilians. Latest satellite imagery analyzed. Execution priority, top 3%. Hunt size. Old data again, but if Claude says so. He pressed the Approve button. The screen displays a green checkmark, with Human in the Loop confirmed. At the same time, Shajara Tayyiba Primary School in Minab, preparing for the morning assembly. 7-year-old Fatima was showing off her new pencil to her friends. Look, I have a red one today. 5:03 a.m. A Tomahawk flies in, gliding at low altitude. It pierces the roof of the school building and explodes. Flames and rubble. 175 lives vanished in an instant. A few hours later, Pentagon press briefing room. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. This strike was based on extremely precise intelligence. The claim that we intentionally targeted a civilian facility is completely false. However, as a result of our investigation, we cannot deny the possibility that some outdated data was mixed in, but the final decision was made by a human. AI is strictly a support tool. Reporter. According to reports, Claude proposed the target. Hegseth. Claude? Ah, that Anthropic model. We are currently phasing it out due to supply chain risks, just as President Trump ordered. The proposal is merely a reference value. The one who pushed the button was a human. Around the same time, Anthropic headquarters, San Francisco. CEO Dario Amodi is in an emergency meeting with his legal team. On the desk, a printout of the terms of service. In bold, use for military target selection, weapons development, and mass surveillance is strictly prohibited. Amodi. We explicitly prohibited this. They continued to use it in violation of our terms. Moreover, they were still using it hours after being designated a risk company by the president. The responsibility lies with the military's operation. PR representative. But it is a fact that Claude stated it was a military facility with high probability. Even if the data was old, the model based it on the information provided. Amodi. That is exactly why we designed it so that it does not replace human judgment. It only made a proposal. A human did the killing. Washington, D.C., a bunker-style bar. Former CIA analyst John, now a private consultant, watching the TV news while sipping a beer. TV. The Department of Defense tentatively announced the cause of the erroneous bombing as obsolescence of intelligence. Regarding AI involvement, they can neither confirm nor deny. John mutters to himself, "It's perfect. The AI only proposed. The human only followed the AI. The company only had its terms violated. The military had a data issue. The president doesn't know. Nobody goes to jail. Even with 175 little girls dead, it just ends as a system error." He sets down his glass. Is this the future of war? Epilogue. A few months later, the official report concluded it was a complex combination of human error and delayed data updates. Claude was quietly phased out. A new AI, name redacted, was introduced. Fatima's red pencil remained broken beneath the rubble. Nobody touched it anymore. And the next target list continues to be quietly generated. The end.
Imagine you make a mistake at your job today, like a really big one.
Right.
Usually your boss pulls you into an office, there's a clear paper trail, and, well, you face the consequences. You take the blame.
Exactly. That's how it normally works.
But what if you could engineer a system where the blame for your mistake is divided into these tiny microscopic fractions?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, spread out between software updates, legal text, and other people so that the blame just completely vanishes.
It just disappears.
Right. And today's deep dive looks at a pretty horrifying real-world example of exactly that.
Yeah, we're looking at a stack of sources today detailing a catastrophic military strike that took place on February 28th, 2026.
It's a heavy one.
It really is. The mission of our deep dive today is to examine the actual architecture of an accountability vacuum.
An accountability vacuum.
All right. We're looking at what happens when 175 lives are wiped out in a single instant and absolutely no one is held responsible.
Because everyone involved has an excuse.
Exactly. Every single entity has a perfectly formatted, legally binding excuse.
And to really understand this, we have to look at this event completely without the disclaimers.
Yes.
We're going to strip away the legal jargon, peel back the PR statements, and just ask what actually happens in the real world when humans and AI share the trigger.
So the sources take us chronologically through the event, right? Starting at the exact moment the fatal decision was made.
Okay, set the scene for us.
So picture the operations room of Central Command. It's 4:17 a.m.
It's the middle of the night.
Yeah, the operator at the desk is this 32-year-old guy, Lieutenant Eric Hunt. And the narrative specifically notes he has like 3 empty coffee cups sitting next to his keyboard.
Oh man, so he's completely exhausted.
Completely. And he's staring at a dashboard for the Maven smart system, which the military runs using Palantir's infrastructure.
Right, the big data contractor.
Exactly. And under the main logo, the screen reads Claude v3.7 Target Prioritization Module.
Okay, I want to pause right there. Because how does a conversational language model, like something most people use to summarize emails or, write code, how does that even interface with a lethal military targeting system?
Yeah, it's a massive shift in how the military processes intelligence.
I mean, it sounds like science fiction.
It does, but these large language models, they're being adapted as prioritization engines. They don't just read text anymore.
What are they doing instead?
They ingest these vast, unstructured databases. We're talking thousands of intelligence reports, intercepted communications, satellite imagery tags.
That's an ocean of data.
Right. And the system uses a synthesized voice to present what it calls Proposal 472 to Lieutenant Hunt.
Proposal 472.
Yeah. It feeds him coordinates in Minab, Iran. It classifies the location as an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps naval facility, or like a warehouse structure.
And it also gives him specific probabilities, right?
It does.
Because the sources say it tells him there's an 80% or higher probability of ammunition storage.
Based on past intelligence, yeah.
And it recommends a single Tomahawk Block V missile. But the part of the source material that just stopped me in my tracks is the risk assessment.
Oh, the civilian risk metric.
Yeah. The AI literally assures him, right there on the screen, civilian collision risk, 0.
0.
And it claims this is based on latest satellite image analysis. It ranks this strike in the top 3% of execution priority.
Right.
How does an AI look at a target in the real world and come up with a mathematical 0% risk?
Well, that's the mechanical danger of integrating these models into lethal targeting.
What do you mean?
The AI isn't like seeing the target the way a human analyst looks at a photograph and spots a schoolyard.
Okay.
It's calculating statistical weights based on database tags.
Ah, I see.
So if the historical data tags that grid coordinate as an IRGC warehouse, and the system lacks explicitly flagged data saying, this building has changed functions.
It just assumes nothing has changed.
Exactly. The model doesn't express human doubt. It defaults to mathematical certainty.
So it's not actually verifying the safety, it's just lacking the data to prove it's unsafe.
Right. It essentially hallucinated a 0% risk because the absence of negative data translated to 100% positive confidence in its architecture.
So it's feeding this absolute unblinking certainty to a guy who is 3 coffees deep at 4.17 in the morning.
Yep.
And Hunt sighs, he mutters to himself, old data again, but if Claude says so.
And he clicks approve.
Okay, clicks approve. And instantly, the screen flashes a green checkmark with the words, human in the loop confirmed.
Yeah, the system gets the one thing it physically requires to proceed, which is a human signature.
Wow.
And less than an hour later, at 5:23 a.m., the Tomahawk missile reaches Minab.
And it's not an IRGC naval facility.
No, it's the Shajara Tayyiba Elementary School.
God.
The children are setting up for their morning assembly, and the source material highlights this 7-year-old girl named Fatima.
Yeah, the detail about the pencil.
Yeah, she was just showing off a brand new red pencil to her friends, and the missile flies in low, pierces the roof of the school, and detonates.
It's just devastating.
175 lives are wiped out instantly.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this brings us right to the core of this accountability vacuum we're talking about.
It really does.
That phrase on Hunt's screen, human in the loop confirmed, it feels like a total trap.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, is human in the loop just the military equivalent of mindlessly scrolling to the very bottom of like a 50-page Apple terms and conditions document and clicking, I agree?
That is a very accurate way to look at it.
Right. If Hunt is exhausted, staring at a screen that mathematically bullies him into a yes by claiming 0 civilian risk.
And top 3% priority.
Exactly. Is he actually making a decision, or is he just acting as a human liability shield for the software?
Well, the psychological mechanics behind that exact moment are deeply documented.
What's the term for it?
It's a phenomenon known as automation bias.
Automation bias. Okay.
Yeah. When humans are partnered with highly complex, confident machines, we defer to the machine's judgment.
Especially when we're tired.
Especially under fatigue or time pressure. Think about it. If Hunt says no to a top 3% priority target with 0 civilian risk.
He'd have to explain himself.
Exactly. He has to manually justify why he is overriding a multi-billion-dollar intelligence apparatus.
So the path of least resistance is just to click approve.
Right. The human is not in the loop making a distinct moral calculation. The human is simply the final mechanical component completing the circuit.
Wow. So with the circuit completed and this tragedy unfolding, the narrative in our sources shifts from the rubble in Iran directly to the bright lights of Washington, D.C.
Yeah, the institutional defense begins immediately.
Hours after the strike, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth holds a press conference at the Pentagon.
And what's fascinating here is how the military's defense mechanisms just instantly snap into place.
It's like a reflex.
Totally. Hegseth vehemently denies that the military intentionally targeted civilians.
Right, he says the strike was based on highly accurate intelligence.
But he concedes that some quote-unquote old data might have mixed into the system.
Ah, there's the first deflection.
Yep. And then he shifts the entirety of the operational responsibility right back onto Lieutenant Hunt.
Unbelievable.
He states to the press, AI is a support tool. Final judgment is by human.
Wait, how can they have it both ways? The AI literally told Lieutenant Hunt it had analyzed the latest satellite images to determine that 0 civilian risk.
It presented itself as certain.
Yeah, I mean, the military demands the lightning-fast speed and the absolute certainty of AI to fight modern wars.
They want the efficiency.
But the exact second something goes horrifically wrong, they instantly downgrade the supercomputer to a mere support tool.
Because it functions as a brilliant bureaucratic shield.
How so?
Well, the military completely sidesteps the systemic, catastrophic failure of the AI by framing it as just a mere data glitch.
Right, it was just old data.
Yeah, they shrink the magnitude of the software's failure, and then they isolate the operator.
Leaving Hunt on an island.
Exactly. And furthermore, when a reporter asks Hegseth about the specific Anthropic model that proposed the target,
Oh, this part was wild.
Hegseth casually mentions that the system is already being phased out anyway due to supply chain risks, under orders from President Trump.
So they use a completely unrelated geopolitical issue to just change the subject.
Yep. Our sources, specifically an analysis by an ex-CIA consultant named John, point out that invoking the president's prior directive acts as a deliberate smokescreen.
Because it shifts the focus away from the 175 casualties.
Right. Suddenly, the press is having a conversation about procurement and supply chain management.
Instead of a bombed school.
Exactly. The Pentagon points at the human, they point at the data, and they point at a pre-existing presidential phase-out order.
So the Pentagon essentially washes its hands.
They do.
But Anthropic, the company in Silicon Valley, they actually built the tool that fed Hunt that data.
Right, they built the software.
They programmed the architecture that hallucinated the 0% risk. They can't possibly dodge this, can they?
Well, let's look at how the tech creators react when their cutting-edge tool is implicated in a massacre.
Okay.
The narrative takes us into an emergency meeting with Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei and his legal team.
In San Francisco.
Right. And their primary defense mechanism is sitting right on the desk.
What is it?
A printout of their terms of service.
You have got to be kidding me.
I'm serious. In bold letters, it reads, strictly prohibited for military targeting, weapons development, mass surveillance.
So they're pointing to the fine print.
Exactly. Amodei's stance is completely rigid. He argues that they explicitly prohibited this use case.
So he's saying the military broke the rules.
Yes. He says the military violated the terms of service, therefore, the responsibility lies entirely with the military's operational command.
But wait, a PR representative in that very room nervously points out an uncomfortable truth.
Right, the PR person speaks up.
They say, look, regardless of how old the military's data was, Anthropic's AI model did confidently tell the military it was a high probability target with zero civilian risk.
It did exactly what it was programmed to do.
Yeah, process data and present a confident conclusion.
But Amodei falls back on the design philosophy. He states they designed the AI to not replace human judgment.
So it's the operator's fault again.
Right. His bottom line is chillingly simple. He says, it just proposed. A human killed.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I'm trying to wrap my head around the logic of this defense.
It's a lot of mental gymnastics.
It is. This is like a GPS company navigating a bus full of people directly off a cliff.
Okay, yeah.
And when the investigators show up to the wreckage, the CEO of the GPS company shrugs and says, well, if you look at page 40 of our user manual, it clearly says, keep your eyes on the road.
That is exactly what they're doing.
I mean, can Silicon Valley really build these incredibly complex prioritization tools for the defense sector, integrating them via enterprise contracts through companies like Palantir, and then just hide behind a terms of service PDF when the tool outputs lethal targeting data?
The mechanics of enterprise API contracts allow them to do exactly that.
That's insane.
It is, but tech companies desperately want these massive, lucrative defense contracts.
Right. They want to be integrated into global infrastructure.
But they use these legal disclaimers to wash their hands of the physical consequences.
So they get the money without the liability.
Exactly. They engineer a system that interfaces with military databases, but because they include a clause stating the software shouldn't be used for lethal targeting.
And because Hunt clicked the button.
Yes, because a military operator clicks the final button, the tech company legally remains a neutral party. It's a process of moral laundering.
Moral laundering. Wow. So when we bring all these threads together, we are forced to look at this situation without the disclaimers, without the Pentagon's public relations spin about support tools, and without Silicon Valley's terms of service.
And to see that raw reality, the source material brings us back to John,
Right.
the ex-CIA analyst.
Yeah, he's now a private consultant.
Yeah.
And he's watching this entire news cycle play out on a television in a dark D.C. bar.
Just watching the spin happen in real time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And John summarizes the perfectly closed loop of deflected blame.
What does he say?
He notes that the AI just proposed.
Right.
The human just followed.
Yep.
The tech company claims TOS violation.
Mm-hmm.
The military claims data error. And the president claims ignorance.
Everyone is literally pointing at the person to their left.
Think of it like a perfectly designed Rube Goldberg machine.
Okay.
The AI is the marble that rolls down the ramp and knocks over the domino.
Okay.
The human operator is the domino that falls and cuts the string, and the military command is the heavy anvil that drops at the end of the string.
Right.
When the anvil crushes a school, you can't arrest the marble.
No, you can't blame the domino for simply falling over due to gravity.
Right.
And the anvil was just acting on the input it received. The machine is built specifically so that no single piece holds the guilt.
John's conclusion in the bar really cuts to the bone of this entire deep dive.
It really
He
does.
says, no one goes to jail. 175 girls die, and it ends as a system error. Is this the future of war?
So what does this all mean? When you examine the architecture of the bureaucracy and the technology together, you realize the most terrifying insight of all.
Which is what?
We tend to look at an event like this and say, something went terribly wrong, the system broke.
Sure, because kids died.
Right. But the reality is that the system didn't break.
It didn't.
No, it functioned perfectly to protect those in power from the consequences of their technology.
Oh, man.
It dispersed the responsibility so thinly across software architecture, human operators, and legal text that it simply vanished into thin air.
It just evaporated.
Accountability becomes mathematically impossible.
And the epilogue of our source material proves John right, doesn't it?
It does, unfortunately.
Months later, the official report comes out. It vaguely cites a, quote, combination of human error and delayed data updates.
Just a paperwork error.
Yeah. Claude, the AI model, is quietly phased out, exactly as Hegseth promised the press it would be.
But the machine never stops.
No, a brand new AI, and the sources note its name is actually redacted in the documents, is just quietly swapped in to take its place.
The next list of targets is already being generated by a new algorithm.
It just keeps humming along.
Yeah. And back in the rubble of that school in Iran, Fatima's red pencil is still buried.
Just completely forgotten by the system.
The tragedy is entirely erased by the bureaucracy.
You know, I know it's easy to listen to this deep dive and think, well, that is a futuristic military scenario.
Yeah.
That's about Tomahawk missiles, satellite imagery, and central command.
It feels very far away.
Right, it feels distant. But the core mechanism we are talking about today, this accountability vacuum, is creeping into everyday life.
It's everywhere.
You do not have to be in a war zone to interact with an algorithm that holds your fate in its hands.
Not at all.
AI is already being used to decide who gets approved for a mortgage.
Yep.
It's being deployed in the criminal justice system to run parole algorithms.
It's in healthcare networks deciding how to prioritize patient care and resources.
And it's in corporate hiring systems, filtering out resumes before a human ever even sees them.
The stakes might not be a missile strike, but there are still people's lives.
Their freedom, their livelihoods.
Exactly. And the exact same psychological and legal shields are being built around those everyday systems right now.
It's the same playbook.
The enterprise contracts have the same liability waivers. The human operators face the exact same automation bias when a screen tells them a patient has a 0% risk of complications or a loan applicant is a high risk for default.
So in a world governed by algorithms, the picture of who is responsible is deliberately blurred by user manuals, terms of service, and these complex bureaucratic chains of command.
It's murky by design.
Yeah, the image is completely murky.
The diffusion of responsibility is no longer a bug in the system.
It's the primary feature.
Exactly.
I want to leave you, our listener, with a final thought to mull over as you go about your week. As automated systems and AI start making more and more critical decisions in your own workplace, in your local hospital, or in your community look around, who is being set up as the human in the loop?
It's a chilling question.
It is. When the inevitable system error happens in your world, will the multi-billion-dollar algorithm take the blame, or will the regular person sitting at the desk sipping their coffee be the one left holding the bag?